Hello, good afternoon, everyone. This is Natasha Malek here from Dubai Future Accelerators. Thank you so much for joining us for the webinar with Etisalat Digital today. Briefly, I'm going to talk you through who I have in the room here with me. But before we start, I just want to let you know that this webinar will be recorded, and we will go ahead and share with any interested startups and scale-ups moving forward. I can also drop you an email with the link to the webinar if you please afterwards. So there's no real need to record it yourself. We'll be sharing it with you. Now, the agenda for today, we're going to have a brief introduction, of course, then we're going to talk about the Dubai Future Accelerators program that you've shown interest in, and then we're going to go into the entity partner, Etisalat Digital, whose challenges you have an interest in. They're going to individually run you through each of the challenges. We have the challenge owners here present with us, so they'll be able to give you as much detail as they have. And there's specific requirements from the companies that they will be selecting for the program. We'll then run through the application process, and then in the end, we will move into Q&A. Tiny request if you could keep yourself on mute, if you have any question, you can raise your hand. So there's a raise hand option here on Zoom. Please raise your hand, or you can type out your question in the chat and I will unmute you, and then you can ask it directly to everyone here. So who do I have in the room here? Myself, I'm representing DFA, Natasha. I've got the team from Etisalat here with me. We've got Jose and Victoria. They are going to be looking at the full program. Adil Khan, he is the champion for the augmented reality challenge. We have Emmanuel here. He is the champion for the retail challenge. And Omer, he is looking into the UAT testing. So you're going to get a chance to hear from them directly shortly. So before we move forward, okay, so Dubai Future Accelerators is actually an initiative by Dubai Future Foundation. The foundation is a department of the government of Dubai. For us, the whole foundation is kind of developed along the lines of this quote from His Highness Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, who is the ruler of Dubai. The quote goes, "The future belongs to those who can imagine it, design it, and execute it." So all of our programs as part of the foundation focus on imagining the future, designing it, and execute it. So the DFA program focuses on the design aspect. So what we're actually looking at is understanding exactly what are the requirements of different departments or corporations here in UAE, understanding their challenges and bottlenecks, and then making the introduction to the holders of that technology so that we can actually see impact to Dubai. What we look to see from the program is to co-create and test solutions for predefined challenges. So these challenges are set by the entity partner, in this case, Etisalat Digital, and we are looking at for the right startups and scale-ups to join them for the course of the program to create solutions and to bring impact to Dubai. So how does the program work? The selected applicants get invited to a 9-week in residence program here in Dubai. So that is what we refer to as our cohort. And to ensure that we're able to access your technologies and to bring as much ease to you for this relocation, again, 9 weeks is a long time, we cover travel, accommodation, and visa for up to 3 full-time team members who will join the program. We are also, like I mentioned, focused on impact to Dubai, so we do not take any equity in your business. Now, what happens during the cohort in Dubai? So yes, you're going to be focusing on your entity partner. If you are selected, you'll be working closely with Etisalat Digital, and that would be your top priority. However, what we want to do is we want it to be an opportunity for you to be able to understand the full ecosystem here in the UAE. So what we do is we do a lot of other aspects. What we want it to be considered as is like 9 weeks business development on steroids. So it's you discovering a new market. We want you to be able to, understand the local culture. We want you to be able to get any support you need in setting up a local office. We hold multiple workshops focused on, let's say, accessing regional media, branding, et cetera, et cetera. So what we usually work with is the requirements of the specific participants and the entity partner. And then also you get access to the whole ecosystem. I'm going to go into Area 2071 shortly, but what we have are corporates, startups, as well as a government in one space. So you get access to that ecosystem. While you're still working with your entity partner, we still make other relevant introductions for you, be it with, let's say, private players, other government entities, or investors, if that is something you're looking into. So where is our co-working space? So it's in, if you've been to Dubai, these are the iconic Emirates Towers based in the financial district. And we are in the ground floor and the first floor of the boulevard. To tell you a little bit more about Area 2071, so the DFA program focuses on collaboration with government entities and startups, but Area 2071 is also the corporate angle. So some of our corporate partners include the likes of Emirates, Microsoft, IBM, Techstars, DP World. So if you come into the boulevard, you will see that there are a lot of innovation spaces, and this is more like an innovation hub. So it's everyone is experimenting, innovating with each other. So it's more of a collaboration zone that has been developed here in the Emirates Towers. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, I'm going to basically tell you a little, hand it over to the team at Etisalat so they can talk you through a little bit more about what Etisalat Digital is. And then they will also be taking you through all the individual challenges. Victoria? Yeah.
This time. My name is Victoria. I'm part of the Etisalat team, more specifically the Future Now. So in Etisalat, we have an open innovation program where we leverage collaborations with startups, scale-ups, agile companies, competitive technologies to augment business services, address business challenges, and drive the digital transformation in the region. So we're sourcing, one of the channels that we source innovation from is through collaborating with accelerator programs, and one of them is the DFA. So today here for the 7th cohort, we have 3 new challenges we're introducing, and I'm going to pass it on to Adli to introduce the first AR challenge.
Perfect.
Are you online?
Yes, we're online. All right. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Adil Khan, and I'm going to be presenting to you the Augmented Reality Challenge, the DFA program. Challenge is basically to use augmented reality to digitize and automate the service for telecom service provisioning and other services that Etisalat has to offer. For example, video surveillance as a solution, or the hardware deployment and delivery, and those kind of services wherein the customer premise survey is an extremely important aspect of the deployment part. So what we want to do is basically use the artificial intelligence or the augmented reality applications through a phone or tablet or a computer, through which the customer's environment could be scanned, and proper understanding of the environment could be done, and the deployment could be taken over from there. So basically how it will work is that the customer would need to select what service he wants to enroll with Etisalat, he wants to subscribe to Etisalat. Let's say we'll give you an example of video surveillance as a service in this case, because that seems to be the most appropriate example right now, when the customer would do with the help of the mobile app or the help of the tablet app, he's going to scan his environment, and the application is going to tell him exactly what places the cameras would be fitted, how they look like, where the cabling would be required, what kind of a connection is needed, and what is the overall design and overall deployment is going to be looking after the deployment is completed in an augmented reality format. And once the customer agrees to everything, he's going to be submitting that to go ahead for this one. And then the team would be visiting the customer's premise equipped with all kinds of materials necessary to do the deployment. Basically, why do we need that? Because of the fact that In these kind of scenarios where the deployment or delivery is an important aspect of the overall solution, there are multiple site visits needed by the field team, wherein they scan the environment, they understand what is needed, they ask too many questions to the customers, and then present a design which is then agreed or not agreed, and then multiple iterations, and then we get to a situation where we get into the deployment mode. We want to mitigate all that by using a single visit deployment to the customer premise with the help of the application, wherein real digital experience is presented to the customer, who can basically scan and say this is what he needs, and ultimately the team visits equipped with all the things needed. This information which customers input into the application could then be fed into the surveys, which could be presented to the customer after the deployment, whether deployment was done as per his agreement, approval, or his understanding, and is it good to go, not good to go, and then the feedback could be fed into the Etisalat's customer service portals and platform. So this is the overall challenge that we want to present to you guys.
Perfect. So now moving on to the second challenge, which is focused on retail. Emmanuel is the challenge champion for that, so handing it over to him.
Thank you, Natasha. Hi, everyone. Emmanuel here. So I'm the champion for the digital retail challenge. First, before going through the details of that challenge, just want to clarify what we call retail in this challenge. So the challenge right now is very broad. What we mean by retail is any type of industry where there is a physical space used to do any transaction or deliver an experience to a customer. So it can be any retail store, it can be F&B outlets, it can be a government service, it can be a mall, it can be any type of commercial space, even banking, etc., where you have a transaction happening or an experience being delivered. If we look at all these industries, what we've seen in the last decade is what we can potentially call a revolution, because with the emergence of digital channels, the physical space and things happening in the physical space have been cannibalized by the digital channels. And as a consequence, most companies have engaged into a massive technology investment to build presence and to build experiences across multi-channels, but very few have really managed to deliver a truly omni-channel experience, and this for several reasons. The transformation is not complete for many companies, and most companies are really struggling to deliver a truly seamless experience across the different channels. We can see as well that companies use multiple channels but are not really optimizing based on consumer insights. The channels, they are not really measuring the effectiveness and optimizing the way they are using the channels. A lot of investments went behind, for example, building apps, installing digital display, integrating various channels and technologies. But the measurability of these investments and the ROI is far from being proven. And in addition to that, we have more and more data being available about consumers, but most digital solutions are not yet really leveraging the entire depth of all this data which is available, and not really combining all the data sources together. So the objective of the challenge is to see how we can address all of this. There is an additional change we believe in the market, which is going to impact a lot the digital world, which is the development of more and more IoT, and also the deployment of 5G, and especially here in the UAE. So we have more and more advanced digital technologies, and we believe this is an opportunity to disrupt some market practices by converging digital and physical touchpoints together to be able to deliver an experience or omni-channel experiences that would be more relevant, more personalized, more interactive, and also more engaging. So the objective that we have for this challenge is really to leverage these new technologies and to be able to reimagine the customer experience of in retail. So what kind of companies we'd like to embark with us on this journey? We are looking for companies which have an experience in retail already and have strong references in the industry, companies which have proven digital solutions already in the market and which are manufacturing these solutions, and companies interested in augmenting their own solutions with our data capabilities. The scope of work of this cohort is to augment your existing digital solutions with our capabilities, and especially our data services, in terms of how to capture more data and in terms of how to also deliver insights thanks to this data. And as well to see how we can, all of this can potentially be powered by 5G. The outcome is to build solutions which combine data capture, combine content which would be based on insights, and combine measurements. And we aim at having solutions which can be delivered end-to-end, can be augmenting as a personalization of the experience or improving customer engagement, integrating data, integrating the data that we have in our data lake, which can support the capture of real-time consumer insights, provide measurement capabilities, and eventually, because this is the objective for every company, drive transactions and drive engagement or drive traffic to a physical space. And last but not least, what we want to build with you is really standardized solution, something which is off the shelf and that we can then together sell to the market. There are a lot of commercial opportunities in the region, not only in the UAE, but also in the broader region, in the GCC. Retail industry is very strong here, as you may know, and is going through the same revolution as everywhere in the world. So we are sure that with the right type of solution, we can commercialize something together which can deliver some business.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
All right, I'm now going to pass on to Umair, who is going to be handling the UAT testing challenge. All right.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Umair Sheikh. I am the Director of User Acceptance here at Etisalat. So just to begin with, I'll just speak a little bit about user acceptance testing. So UAT is a critical testing activity which is conducted by a team in Etisalat who reside under the marketing area. And our main job is to ensure that the deliverables, the products and services are meeting the business requirements before we launch them to our customers. So just to give you an idea of the scale of the operation, in 2018, the team processed around 1,000 projects, which equated to around 60,000 tests. So it is a very large operation which we're running. Today, the UAT is manual in nature. So I have a very large team of over 70 people who conduct this activity across multiple different areas, domains, lines of business. So really the opportunity here is that we want to look at how we can automate this entire activity so that our projects can be delivered at a much higher efficiency. So we were looking at trying to reduce this manual effort, and which should have an impact on the time to market and with improved quality. So the scope of the project then is we're looking for a technical solution that will meet all the kind of different types of testing that we do in UAT. Along with that, we need an end-to-end automation strategy to help us implement that solution while the projects are on the go. So we want to be in a position that as a project is on course, this UAT is automated and delivered to our before we launch it to our customers. So the idea is we do this automation. As I mentioned, there's many different areas, including sales. An example of sales is customer registration. When the customer goes to a store, they might want to buy, let's say, a plan or a device. They would have to go through a number of different tests, steps, things like registration. They would have a fingerprint scanning, uploading their documents. All of these different types of steps is what a customer agent would do today in a retail store. So this is the type of thing that we do in a UAT today. It's very manual. So this type of project would also be in scope. Other examples are things like our e-commerce websites, our mobile apps, where our customers access these different interfaces to purchase devices, plans, add minutes, for example, to their plans. Again, the type of testing that we do is end-to-end. So it's not just go on the website. There's a lot more that the team is doing after that. So it's end-to-end. After making the end-to-end purchase flow, they might go and access another system to just validate things are populating in the right places. So it can be quite complex in terms of the testing that's happening. So the solutions we're looking for should be able to support all the different use cases that we have in the UAT team. So we're looking for technical solutions and a strategy to implement that solution so that UAT can be automated during the project.
Great.
So that's it.
Thank you so much, Umar. All right, so this was more about the challenges. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how the selection process will work. So the first step is for you to submit your written application. You can do that at the website, DubaiFutureAccelerators.com. There's an Apply Now button. Also, if you follow Dubai Future Accelerators or Dubai Future Foundation on any of the social channels, you'll be able to get linked to our website. You submit your application. One thing I want to answer is that for each challenge you apply, you have to submit a separate application because the questions for each are unique. Secondly, if you pass through the first stage, this is going to be, we're going to be looking at your application and giving it a score. If your score is higher than a certain threshold, you will then move on to stage 2, which is a phone interview with the DFA team. We will verify your information, understand a little bit more about your solution, and see if it weighs in with what our entity partner is looking into. At this point, say yes or no. If it's a no, you will receive a rejection email. Otherwise, you'll be passed on to stage 3, which is you'll be part of the shortlist and be shared with the entity partner. In this case, it's digital, for them to do their internal shortlisting. They may, at this point, call you for more information or want to have a meeting with you to make their final decision. Once we have the final companies, DFA would be notifying them of their selection. We will then get you ready to get on a plane. So we'll be booking your flights, visas, and accommodation. We cover flights, visas, and accommodation for up to 3 full-time team members. And just to let you know, it's just 1 return flight per full-time team member. We will then, once all your logistics are sorted, we will then have a final webinar where we kind of get you excited about the program ahead and also answer any questions that you may have with regards to the 9 weeks you will be spending in Dubai. So the application deadline is the 17th of November. It is local UAE time, so 11:59 GMT plus 4. Be sure to get your applications in by then. You can apply on www.DubaiFutureAccelerators.com. If you have any questions, you can reach us on cohort@DubaiFutureAccelerators.com. That is also the email address that sent you the link for today's webinar. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, we'll be taking questions. So if you have a question, you can raise your hand, and which is a feature on Zoom. Otherwise, you can also type in your question or type that you have a question on the chat, and I'll be sure to unmute you so you can ask your question. All right, so right now, all right, so I know that we have a question from Suyog. I'm going to unmute you and you can then ask your question. Second. All right, you can go ahead and ask your question, Suyog.
Hi guys, this is Suyog here from India. So we own a tech company, right? So our question for this challenge 2, which is to enhance the retail industries, right?
Suyog, can you start from the beginning, please? Just from the beginning, from your question.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, our question for the second challenge for the retail industry, right? Actually, we have a product. It's AI-based SaaS solution for the retailers, and basically we are targeting SMEs, right? Hotel, restaurant, and the retail industry. So I want to know more about like what kind of features they want, right? So retail industry with the increase their sales and revenue, and for our solution, the retails and the download any app or something. If they have a Google Assistant in their phone, they can interact with our solution. If they have they have WhatsApp or they have a Messenger. So with for our solution, they don't need to download any app, right? So I want to know more about features they want to enhance the retail industry.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
So sorry, Sio, you interrupted a little bit while you were asking your questions. I'm not sure I got everything, so please interrupt me if I'm not properly answering your question. So you were saying that you already have a solution targeting some SMBs in like F&B, hospitality industry. Am I right?
Yeah, hospitality and the retail industry. Yeah.
Okay. And then you mentioned some channels, but that's where you got interrupted. I didn't get everything. So can you just please repeat that part about what your solution does? And then the question, please.
So yeah, in short way, we can say that we integrate our solution on the Google, Facebook Messenger, Google Assistant, and WhatsApp, right? So with our solution, people don't need to download any app and visit any website, right? They interact with our AI assistant on Messenger, WhatsApp, or Google Assistant, right? And on the back end, the retailer data and analytics and some more features on the dashboard. So that's how the retailer can increase their sales and revenue, or it also helps them to repeat their customers, right? To retain them. Yeah.
Okay. And you want to know if that kind of solution is something we are looking for?
Yeah. Actually, I want to know more about like if you what's your aim or your vision, right? Because this kind of thing we are serving in India right now.
So like I said earlier, we were targeting something which helps to converge physical and digital. So we are not looking only at digital channels, but we really want a solution which can be embedded in an experience which is being delivered in a physical space, so that customer interacting with a certain brand can interact with that brand through different channels, through the right channel at the right time, and getting the right experience through that. And that experience has to be personalized, has to engage, has to potentially drive further transactions, etc. And we really want something which then is being augmented by the data capabilities that we have. So if you believe that your existing solution can be cross channels in terms of physical and digital, and B, you're interested in augmenting your solution with some data capabilities that we have here at Etisalat in terms of capturing data, in terms of delivering insights, and then optimizing, for example, the content which is being delivered through your solution to the customers. That's something we can be interested in. If you want to discuss further, we can then also take it offline, and obviously part of the review process, your solution will be reviewed, and we'll see if it definitely fits what we are looking for or not. But that's what we want to achieve with the channel, the challenge.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions? All right. Kazim, do you have a question? You've unmuted yourself.
Yeah, actually, my name is Kazim. So we have a solution that we basically deploy for banking system that can be used on the point of sale and also by the ATM. So I just want to know, is this something you're looking at? Just
is this for the retail challenge?
Yeah, for the retail, yes, for the retail challenge.
So
because we have it deployed on the point of sales. You know the point of sale for payment.
Yes.
That can be used in malls. for making payment in malls, and also some centers. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Is
Yes.
this something the regular point of sale? That's what we deal in.
So you have
right? Is that what?
Sorry, Kazim, please go ahead.
Yeah, the regular point of sale terminal.
Okay.
So that is being used for making payment in various places, shopping malls, retail center, in schools. You understand? So, and it does basically thing. It does the basic. It is actually for digital payment, digital payments. Like, say for instance, if it's deployed in, say for instance, in Etisalat centers now. You understand? So it can. Is that?
Yes, I understand you, Kazim. Payment is just one piece for me of the experience.
Okay.
And what we are not looking for just one moment of the experience, but rather when you look at a guest journey. Let's say I'm interacting with Adidas as a brand. I might go on the Adidas site. They might have a mobile app. They have a physical stores, etc. We are looking at the entire experience and the entire journey, and not just one moment of the journey. So I believe if your solutions are focusing just on payment, it won't be enough for us for this challenge.
Yeah, it's not only focusing on payment. Actually, we have take for instance now, we have different brands. Let's say for instance in a mall, shopping mall, there are a lot of brands there that the customer comes in, visitors can come in to make some order for different kind of brands. You understand? It could be, say for instance, when someone walks in to buy an Adidas t-shirt or Adidas shoe, buys a Reebok shirt, that's kind of brand that comes. But at the end of it all, when they make this selection, they have to pay. You get me? They have to make payment, which is, the payment is just like the last stage for the whole process. Did you get me?
Yeah, I got.
So they actually do do other things with the solution, in terms of make selection for the brands that the brands are in place, because they need to make selection for the kind of brands they want to buy in the shop or shopping mall. You understand? So they make those selection, but at the end of it all, they need to make payment. I'm just saying this solution takes care of the two. It's not only payment. Payment is like the last stage. You understand? And we have some part of it that does loyalty based on the brands that they've selected and the payment, the purchase they've already made. They have some kind of point given on for each of the customer. So I'm saying, so it's not only for payment per se. It actually takes care of everything. So is this something you're looking at? I just want to have more insight into it.
So, like I said earlier, we're looking at the entire journey. If you think your solution is covering more than payment, we can obviously, you can always go through the DFA process, and we will review every solution anyway. So the more I get information about the solution, the better it will be for all of us to assess the relevance of your solutions versus the challenge. What you need to know is that from a payment perspective, we are already some partnerships in place. So obviously we'll be more restricted when it comes to selecting a partner if that partner is too much focused on payment. But please anyway apply, because the more we get applicants and the more we get potential solutions, the more we can review everything and they select the one which will be the most relevant to the challenge.
All right, thank you, Kazim.
Okay.
All right, so we have some hands up. I'm going to, Peter, I think you have a question. I'm going to unmute you now. Wait 1 second, Peter. All right, I'm going to unmute you now. Go ahead, Peter.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic, thanks a lot. Question about the challenge number 2. So I think I'm starting to grasp what you guys are looking for, but stop me if I'm saying something wrong. So ideally, you're looking for a solution which you could use, let's say, on a website. It could be a digital, something that you could use to somehow I don't know, promote this Adidas store? I mean, you mentioned Adidas, so I'll stick with Adidas. And then you would also like to use this promotion way to drag or to invite the customer to actually come to the store. And in both those solutions, you would like to measure and get as many data about the customer experience, both on digital and the physical presence in the store. Is it correct, or?
So it could be something which is important for us is really how this solution would play within the store itself, because the actual challenge we can see in the industry is not really on the digital side. I think everything related to websites, to the mobile app, it's quite strong already. But the piece which is currently suffering for most companies is the physical space, and that's a space which has to be reinvented. So what we'd like to achieve with this challenge is how we can bring that reinvention to the physical space using a combination of digital channels. And that's where we believe that data has something to do to deliver an experience to augment what is being done throughout the different channels. So we are not focusing only on how we can use online to drive traffic to a store, but also what happens inside that store, which combines different type of channels. So if you want examples, can be, you've probably seen the example of having salespeople with an iPad. You've probably seen digital display in stores, how you can interact with a digital display, and then how can you collect data of the customers in the store to serve them something which is relevant, something which is personalized within the store and maybe after their visit to the store. So for us, the physical space is very central in this challenge.
So again, sorry, let's say, what is your goal of doing in the physical space? For example, it's more about the data collection and understanding how the customer is interacting in your existing physical store, or do you want to, for example, show somehow digital more things that are not physically present in the store? For example, let's stick to Adidas. You have only one pair of shoes in the store, and using this digital solution, you can somehow show to the customer additional 100 pairs of Adidas. They can look at them in the physical store. They can somehow take them home, and you can collect all the data about the experience. Is that what you're looking for?
What we're looking for is obviously driving the objective. The final objective is to drive transactions and or engagement. So it's and or. It can be transactions, it can be engagement with the brand in that physical space. So we are not looking at capturing data for the sake of capturing data. If we want to capture data, it's because we believe this data can then be used to deliver relevant content to the customers, a relevant experience to deliver interactivity, and then a better engagement. So that's what that's why we look at data and how we can use all the data that we can collect at Etisalat level to augment some solutions existing in the market, which can be installed inside the store.
Okay, thank you.
Let me just see, has anyone else raised their hand? All right, Ian, we've got your hand raised. I'm going to unmute you now. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, right. So a lot of the stuff has been talking about retail. I mean, I'm looking at the AR from energy point of view of supporting engineers out on site and how we can do that from a maintenance point of view. Now, there's a lot of existing products out there. Is this fund really to support new software ideas? And how will the ultimate IP on anything that's developed reside with?
IP, intellectual property, basically, if it is designed specific, Etisalat uses the IP resides with Etisalat in this case, because this is going to be specifically used by Etisalat, integrated with their applications, and for specifically designed for Etisalat services that we provide to the customers in the market. So that resides with us. But there's nothing stopping you from developing other application on top of the same, and selling it in the open market. That is okay. That is okay with us.
Yeah. Okay. So we're specifically developing products to reside within your portfolio as well.
the product that resides within our portfolio stays with us. That's our IP.
Yeah.
If it is, you can design another application which does the similar thing, and then you can take it in the open market without any problems.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? We've got another question from Suyog. I'm going to just unmute you now. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So my question is again for the retail industry, right? Can you please explain that about your vision by giving an example, right? Like suppose you are going to a store and what kind of experience you want. So it would be easy for us to to create a solution if we have a story kind of thing. Yeah.
So you're, so right now the challenge is quite broad, as you could see. We obviously solving the challenges of the retail industry right now is not something that is easy to do. Otherwise, it would have been everywhere else. So that's why we keep it very broad, targeting different industries. We believe, for example, that every industry has its specific challenge. If you look at banking, it's definitely not the same as a retail shop. It's not the same, etc. So we are very, very open so far. What we want to see is applications where with existing solutions where we can see a potential for us to augment with our own capabilities. And I mentioned data. I mentioned also 5G. How 5G can help these solutions to exist and to deliver better results. So we don't have in mind we don't have in mind something very specific, saying okay, this is exactly what we want to do. We rather want to see different type of approaches for different industries, and then we'll see which one fits the most what we think we can deliver together with the partner.
Okay. So your ultimate goal to enhance retail industry experience, right?
Yes.
In-house experience and digitally as well, right?
Yeah. Ultimate goal is really to, like I said earlier to one of your colleague, it's to address the challenge that current retail see in terms of physical space with the emergence of more and more digital channels. And especially here in the UAE, physical retail is very strong. We have major malls. We have the biggest mall in the world. We have the next biggest mall in the world being built right now. So physical retail space is critical. And all these companies are going through, obviously, a lot of questions in terms of how to continue to drive the same value in this mall, the same value in the physical space. And our objective as Etisalat is to see what kind of solutions we can bring to the market to help these companies. So that's why we keep the challenge quite broad for that.
Thank you, Suyog.
Okay, so okay, thanks.
We have more questions. I'm just going to, all right. Peter, I'm just unmuting you. You can go ahead and ask your question. Let's give it up. 1 second, Peter. I'm just unmuting you. It's just not behaving right now.
I think there is one button press. Yeah, now you can try.
Okay. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Peter, we can hear you now. Sorry, we were
I think it was my fault. I had a message which I was ignoring, so sorry.
Okay,
anyway, challenge number one. So a lot of was said about technology, augmented reality, scanning, and the solution and stuff like this. But can you tell us a little bit more about the customer profile for challenge number one? And how do you interact with this customer, and what issues do you have, which actually are leading to the challenge and the solution?
Customers, yes, thank you very much. The customers basically are the SMB, small and medium business customers, basically having warehouses or retail shops, where smaller offices are concerned. These are the customers where we basically are focused on. The challenges that we face. What is the second question? Sorry.
How do you interact with them, and in which area exactly are you looking for a solution that will improve this interactivity?
Basically, the interaction that starts with the sales team, and they connect with the customers with their with the products that we have to offer, or social media campaigns which happen with the customers, where they inquire about the products that we have. The account managers meet them, and they give them a description about the product that we are selling. If they're interested, then these products they basically fill an order form, and then the order forms or online order forms comes to us, and then we do a surveys of their to understand the environment properly, whether this deployment is feasible or not feasible, whether the height is too much, the cabling is required or not required, or the conduiting is needed, or other stuff like digging, trenching, poles, all those kind of hardware, deployment materials and stuff is needed or not needed, and if it is needed, how much and what quantity or what kind of deployment is required. And then basically the team goes there along with the equipment and material, and they do the deployments. Sometimes they are not able to because of the fact that they have not done the surveys properly, or the information was not proper, the layout was not correct, and that it ultimately results in multiple visits, the customer dissatisfaction and all. So in those kind of cases, we are looking for something that we could basically present to the customer in advance, wherein he can scan his environment, see how it will look like, and everything that the application scans and suggests based on the product that he has selected, that information could come back to us, and we would know what, to a greater extent, to a larger extent, we would know what the site would look like, how the deployment would basically be looking like, and what is it that customer is going to see ultimately at the end of the deployment. And this could be later stages. At the later stage, it could be feed it back into the surveys, where the customer can basically give feedback about was the deployment correct or not, or we can even, let's say in the initial part of the customer request, he did a scanning and told through the application, this is how the environment should look like. He can change it. He can point a camera to somewhere else, or he can add more cameras into the application that he's using for augmented reality. And then at the end, after the deployment, we can scan the environment again, and then we can match whether the deployment is done as per the expectation of the customer or as per the scanning of the site. So these are some of the things that we are expecting.
Last follow-up questions. Can you define what is a deployment for you, and what is a product? Because a few minutes ago you said you're offering products. So I would like to understand what is the deployment, what is the product, and thank you very much. I'm going on mute.
I'll give you one examples. Basically, it's video surveillance as a service, which is right now just launched 1.5 months back, and that product is doing really well in the market right now. What we do, it is basically all the product that we are launching as a service. We are in completely end-to-end service provided by the Etisalat. We sell the product, we deploy in the sense we do the installations on the customer side, wherein the cabling, conduiting, camera fittings, and the installation, and all kinds of sometimes the plumbing work is needed, and the team get engaged and they get those works done. So this is the deployment that we are talking about.
All right. I just want to add, so Etisalat is the largest telecommunications provider here in the UAE, but they've also diversified from B2C and the typical B2B solutions to looking into fourth gen solutions which focus on, let's say, cloud, AI, blockchain, et cetera. So Etisalat Digital is basically that innovation arm in which they are basically testing and adding more solutions to their suite to provide to business customers. So in a way, like the deployment that Adil mentioned, they also provide CCTV cameras. So that would be another service that Etisalat provides. Similarly, for instance, if you were to provide a retail solution which fits the retail challenge, that would be another solution that Etisalat will provide. So it's basically they're solutions that they would potentially use themselves, and also solutions they would push out in the market with you. All right, so we have a question from Ian. Ian, I'm just going to unmute you. Go ahead.
Right, so this is my last question. It's more about, are you there to help support data governance? Obviously, because a lot of this has been about retail, but I work in the energy industry, and with that scenario, two-way communication on site, video calling and that sort of thing, there's local laws that you have to overcome and discuss and realise. Would ESTAT be there to support and overcome those barriers?
Talking about the data communication, basically through the communication over the phone or the internet communication. Data communication layer is what you're talking about, correct? Whether somebody's
Yeah.
going to be communication as a service, talking, this loss or this expense needs to be handled by somebody. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, there's obviously political things that come in when you start with local restrictions, where data governance, where it resides, rightly so, but sometimes that needs to be overcome. I've worked with Sweden before, and that obviously has a high data governance, that all data has to reside within its region. And then there's a certain local laws.
Right. Basically, if you will be working with Etisalat, we'll be providing you all the access to the data center environment that they've got here, and all the data resides within the Etisalat data center. If the product or the application or anything that you're designing is being developed specifically for Etisalat, then the data and everything resides within Etisalat data centers and within UAE. As far as the customer information is concerned, the name, phone number, email address, the location, stuff like that, that should not be passing across the UAE borders. And it stays within UAE. So we're saying if you are very used to working over the AWS environment, stuff like that, we have got complete data center where Azure is a part of Etisalat data centers. So if you're working on Azure, where Azure is hosted in Etisalat data center, should not be a problem for anybody to work on. And we provide the state-of-the-art data center environment for you to work on.
Okay. So what I'm thinking about is sort of remote engineers, where you may have to communicate with somebody who's outside the borders with video calling as well.
What you're calling, as far as right now we are calling with video. It's like we are on Zoom right now. We can enable video, and that's going to work. So that's not a problem. Okay. Without any Skype for Business, it's not enabled for everybody yet, but it works there. So with Expo, we expect that to be open as well. But yeah, so video calling is not a problem, but from the online channels.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Ian. Peter, you've got your hand raised. I will go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead, Peter.
That's the last one. Don't worry. I promise. Question about challenge number 3. I would like to understand what kind of solutions do you want to test? So, for example, I don't know, like website applications, websites, mobile version of those applications still websites or mobile apps, iOS, Androids. Like, what do you want to test automatically with the solution that you're looking for? Thank you.
All of the above. So my team is doing testing on these kind of digital applications, like you mentioned. So mobile apps, websites. However, even while they do a test on a website, what the team do is they actually validate on other systems as well. There may be other web applications like billing systems, or they might be like a client-based application. So the idea is that they do the end-to-end user journey on, let's say, the website. Once they've done that, they've made a payment, then they also log into multiple other systems just to make sure everything has gone through successfully. So an end-to-end test for us is to check on all of those kind of systems. So that's like for the digital area. Then we have other use cases, including, let's say, for our customer care area, things like the IVR. So, when you call up, let's say, your customer services, it might be like an automated IVR, voice recognition based, and then you go through various options. Today we do that all of that manually, but again, that's also another use case for us to see how we can automate that. Then we have like sales projects. In sales projects, we have end-to-end journeys where, let's say, customers are entering a retail store, they go to the sales agent. He then has to register that. They then have to register that person. They'll take documents from them. They will scan documents. They could be taking their fingerprint. Those kind of things as well. They're obviously more complex, but there are systems, you know, these are integrated hardware devices that are there, that are being used. So again, all of this is done manually today. So on this challenge, what we're going to be doing is we will be specifying the various use cases that make up the entire challenge, which comprise of different areas: sales, customer care, digital, all our home products, and mobile products as well. So it's a very big mix of different things. But yeah, that's just I hope that makes it clear or more complicated.
Oh yeah. No. I think I understand this one very well, because I'm exactly in the process of implementing something like this in my own organization. So we're doing the same thing. We're doing auto testing of our website, the mobile version of the website, of the mobile applications, how all of it is communicating together, and yada yada yada. So I think I understand the problem. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. All right. Do we have any more questions? Okay, we got some hands raised. Shabaz, I'm going to unmute you and you can go ahead and ask your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Natasha. So my question is on challenge number 2. I want to understand, do you have user data at this moment, or are you expecting the teams to even devise a method to capture user data? That is one question. And second is regarding the user acceptance testing. So I see that as a fairly straightforward use case of QA, and you can just create some user stories and run it as an agile project. So does that mean you're just looking for an implementation partner? And so is there a out of the box solution that you're looking for?
All right. So you said it's for challenge 2. I think you're asking one question regarding challenge, the retail challenge, and then the question is for the UAT challenge. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. Regarding your first question, data, yes. So we obviously do already have a lot of user data as a telecom operator. So we have data of our customers. Obviously, we are also looking at, if we build a solution with a partner, how we can leverage that solution to collect further data. And then when it comes to working with a client, there is also the data owned by that client, which is to be taken into account. So you can look at 3 streams of data: the ones that we already have in our database, the ones that we can collect through the solution itself, and then the data of the client itself. So we're looking at these 3 streams of data in that solution.
And Shabaz, do you want to repeat your question for UAT challenge?
But prior to that, I have a follow-up question for the answer that was given just now. So essentially, what I can understand from the discussion for this call is, you're not just looking to improve revenue and your profit margin for your clients. What essentially are you trying to achieve? You mentioned that you're looking to improve customer engagement. What is the end goal? What is the big picture?
It's both, Shabazz, because you know that customer engagement in itself doesn't drive immediate profit for a company, but can drive long-term profit. So what we know, if you look at a lot of research across the world, is that customer experience right now is the key element to focus on to drive loyalty, to drive engagement, and eventually to drive further transactions, further conversion, etc., etc. So that's why the idea is to focus on this customer experience, and depending on the client, it can give you a different benefit eventually. It can be more traffic, it can be a better conversion on certain channels, it can be more sales in store, more transactions, etc. So the end goal obviously depend on the client, depend on the challenges and the needs of the client. But all these go through customer experience.
All right. Shabaz, do you want to go ahead and repeat your UAT testing question?
Yes. So for the UAT question, unlike other challenges,
Hi, can you repeat?
You're cutting out. Could you repeat, please?
Is he on mute?
No.
No.
Shabazz, do you want to repeat your question? I think we've lost Shabazz. All right. Are there any other questions? All right.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, Shabazz.
This Kazim. Hello, this Kazim.
Kazim, okay.
Oh, okay. Hi, Kazim. Yes.
Yeah. I want to find out, do you have for the retail, do you have like an existing system that you want to more like improve or something? Maybe you can give us an insight on that.
Sorry.
In terms of how does the existing system works with what you have on ground? Maybe we can have an insight of, because retail is quite broad, and we need to know what you need, what you're actually looking for. So because if you have an existing, maybe you can describe an existing system in the area you are looking at. I don't know if you get what I mean.
I'm looking at a physical space first. So I'm looking at what happened inside the store, for example, and how inside that store, the experience can be delivered into a contextual way, into a personalized way, into a relevant way to the consumer. So it means capturing data about this consumer. So I know that you, Kazim, entered that store, and I know some of your preferences. I know some of your hobbies. I know what you'd like to do. I know why you come to this store. I know what you've done and how you have interacted with the brand before visiting the store. And because I know all of that, then inside the store, I can have some solutions delivering a personalized and relevant experience to you. So maybe it's a digital display which is going to display a specific product relevant to you. Maybe it's when you interact with a product, the information you get from that product are relevant to what you're looking for. It can be things like that. So because I know you, I can provide an experience to you which is relevant to you and not relevant to someone else. That's basically what we'd like to achieve.
Okay. In terms of the solution side now, are you looking what are you looking at? What kind of hardware are you looking in this with this scope? What kind of hardware do you have a particular one in mind?
No specific requirement here. If it's a digital display, then obviously it requires some hardware with digital display. I think it's a combination of some software and hardware.
Okay.
That's why we talk of combining things together. On our side, we already have some data platforms, and these data platforms will be integrated into the solution. We have also some hardware already solutions and some hardware partners that we can bring on board. Let's say that, for example, we want to embed a camera onto a digital display, to use that display to obviously display things, but also capture the customer reaction to what is being displayed with some kind of sentiment analysis, facial recognition through the camera. We can provide the cameras. So we are really looking at combining some software and hardware pieces together. What we want from the partner involved in this cohort is that it brings already an existing solution, something that is already being manufactured. And then we look together at how we can augment that solution with some of our additional capabilities from a platform and hardware perspective, and how we integrate all of that together.
Okay. The data that you say the data you have, does it? You say you're going to provide some data.
Yes.
From Etisalat now, how does this data look like? What is
So it's going in a lot of details, but you can imagine as a telecom industry, we have a lot of data about our consumers in terms of mobile phone usage. So from there is a lot of attributes that can be identified in terms of geolocation, in terms of profile of the consumers, etc. So that's the type of data that we have. and we aggregate everything, and we can then deliver, target some audiences. We can identify things at the individual level. That's the type of information we can play with.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for your time today. I'm going to leave you with this. Again, the website on which you can apply for the challenges. And also, if you have any questions, you can reach us on cohort at DubaiFutureAccelerators.com. Now, all right. Thank you, everyone. Shukran. And we look forward to seeing you all in Dubai. All right. Bye-bye.